Hello everyone, welcome back to Black Moon Coven. So today on my channel I thought we would do something a little different, something a little new. I'm going to be reading some Polish folktales and fables from one of my favorite books, and you could sit around and just enjoy the story, gather around by the cell phone, and just enjoy a little ancient Polish folktale. So, we are going to be reading from The Glass Mountain. It's a book by S Kuniczak, and it's 26 ancient Polish folktales and fables. The story that I've chosen today is called The Eye of the Sea. When you go into the region of Morskie Oko in the Carpathian Mountains, and when you climb the steep mountain road that leads to the strange Blackwater Lake which nestles along the crags, you will find a curious sadness in the hushed, stilled landscape, and this tale tells you why. In Polish, Morskie Oko means the eye of the sea, and how it got its name is part of the story. A great Polish noble named Pan Morski lived there a long, long time ago, when there was nothing but rich fields of wheat and rolling green pastures and deep rustling woods where these huge mountains and cliffs are today. He was a rich and powerful landowner, fiercely devoted to his heritage, who took great pride in his family name that derives from the word for the sea. But that's another story. The lands of a young and handsome Transylvanian prince began just beyond Old Morski's property, a step or two from the heaped stone mounds in which the old warrior mounted his bargery lines. So that the two nobles lived side by side, like two country neighbors, separated only by a strip of pasture. The old man didn't like the prince because he was a foreigner, but still they never done any harm to one another, and they lived peacefully enough, and most people thought they'd live like that till the end of their appointed years. But Morski had a daughter of such rare beauty that no one who saw her could believe their eyes. Everyone thought of this amazing beauty as a miracle, something that came directly from God, and many were struck with such awesome wonder that they lost their wits. It happened that the young prince caught sight of her one day, quite lost his mind over her, and did the one thing sure to drive the old, fierce man into a towering rage. He asked for her hand in marriage. This so enraged old Morski that he swore he'd give his daughter to the devil before a foreigner could have her. She was to marry one of her own kind, finding her husband among her own people, or no one at all. Fate, however, is never to be challenged. The devil is always listening, ready to exploit any chance for mischief. Old Morski was a warrior. One day his king called him on a long campaign, and he went off to distant lands for many years to come. But first he locked his daughter behind covenant walls, threatening to hurl a father's curse upon her if she were ever to marry the handsome Transylvanian. "May the devil have you," he repeated, "if you disobey me." But he stayed away too long on the king's campaign. The young girl grew bored and restless in the nunnery, and in the meantime the handsome Transylvanian continued his courtship. He sent her necklaces of such dazzling workmanship that they looked like the work of angels. He sent jewels and ribbons. He sent a troop of soothsayers, who were also sorcerers and witches, and who painted such a brilliant future for her with their gypsy tongues that she was overwhelmed. "You'll be a great lady," they told her, "with castles of silver and rooms of pure gold." They cast such a spell on the yearning and unhappy girl that she agreed to escape from the convent where her father placed her and to defy his wishes. At nightfall, the prince himself came to the convent gate, dressed as a begging friar, and pleaded for alms. He put on such a show and made so many signs of the cross that the nuns took pity on him and let him inside. His soothsayers scattered magical herbs on the ground and chanted strange words. All of the watchdogs fell asleep. The prince fled with the girl and immediately ordered that a palace made of coral be built for her at once, and then she was studded with gold and priceless stones and jewels. So the girl became a princess and danced all day among the flowers in the meadows or played with her children. And in the evenings, the prince's gypsy women, witches, and enchanters sang her to sleep and told her the most amazing, wonderful stories so that she would have pleasant and lovely dreams. Everything there was like heaven. There was never hail falling from the sky to ruin the crops or any floods, nor did any sickness ever strike the cattle or the other livestock. In 7 years she had 7 children, and each grew tall and straight as a sapling growing with health. In all that time, Morsky was far away, and no word of him came back to the country. So many people began to say that he must have died. Since so many years have passed, the daughter believed this, dressed herself in mourning, claimed her father's lands, and thought she would never have to worry about the curse that he threatened her with. But one day he returned without a word of warning. "Where is my daughter?" he demanded, and people, always eager as they are for malicious mischief, quickly showed him to the coral palace in which she was living. She ran out to greet him, wearing her finest jewels, but the old man hurled his curse upon her. He made the sign of the cross, spat 3 times on the ground, and stomped his feet so hard that the coral palace shattered and turned to dust. "May your foreigner turn to stone," he shouted, "and all of his goods with him." The princess begged his forgiveness on her knees and brought out all her children to move him into compassion, but the sight of them only enraged him more. "May you melt in your own tears," he cursed her, "and let your damned children drown in them as well, because you are no longer Morsky's daughter, and they are not his kind." A father's curse had its effect quickly in those days, and Morsky's came true at once. The fields, the meadows, the places, and great herds of cattle and horses turned immediately into one large boulder. The prince went mad with terror and tried to escape, disguised as a monk, but the curse reached him anyway and turned him into a granite, as you could still see him there as a great stone pillar that's known in the region as the Monk, and stands above the lake today. The princess wept and pleaded and called on all of her husband's witches to help her, but they could do nothing against the father's curse. Each of them seized the child and began to run, but the ground burst open under their feet, and huge mountains leaped up at every step they took. So they could not run. Worn out, they all sat down. Death appeared before them. The frightened children cried out for their mother, who came running to them, but not all of her tears could turn the curse away. She wept until great pools of tears formed everywhere around her, and people even say that she wept out her own eyes. One of them became known as the Lake of Morskie Oko, the Eye of the Sea, because that used to be her, the maiden, as well. The princess threw out all of her precious stones and jewels into that great pond, but there is no use looking for them there, because they've all been fished out many years ago. Then, when there was nothing left around her except the lake, the gaunt, grim glyphs, and several pools of tears, the princess herself dissolved in the lake, and since she was still dressed in mourning for her father, the water in the lake turned as black as her mourning robes, as you can see for yourself whenever you go there. While each of her 7 children lies at the bottom of the 7 pools, people say that sobs and sighs can be heard coming from the black water on a misty day, because a father's curse dooms a disobedient child into endless suffering, and peace can never come to the princess's soul. But if you're moved to pity when you hear the story, or if you mourn for her when you hear her weeping, be sure to make a sign of the cross, spit and stomp your foot 3 times on the ground, or you will be buried under an avalanche of snow falling off of the mountains. That concludes our story, The Eye of the Sea. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. I'd like to do future videos like this, so please comment below. Join the coven for more witchy uploads, and follow me on all my social media. Until next time, have a lovely rest of your day.